Life has a brutal way of reminding you that you're not driving the bus. Sometimes it just throws you under it. Today felt like that. A cosmic uppercut that left me reeling, questioning everything I thought I knew about control, loyalty, and the woman I'd asked to marry me just weeks before. It started deceptively normally, like most train wrecks do. I met Sarah, 26 then, at my buddy Alex's housewarming a few months back. I was 28, comfortable in my IT groove, maybe a little too settled. She was a supernova by the drinks table, vibrant blue eyes, a laugh that didn't just fill a room, it rearranged the molecules. Instantly, I felt that familiar tug of inadequacy. She seemed miles out of my league, but we clicked, exchanged numbers. Bucking my usual playbook of calculated indifference, I texted her the very next day. Some magnetic pull short-circuited my usual caution. Our first date was solid, decent Italian downtown, easy conversation. She waxed lyrical about hiking, about conquering trails most weekends. Me? I'm a creature of the climate-controlled gym, finding zen in predictable sets, not slippery rocks. But listening to her, the wildness sounded appealing, her passion painting vivid B-roll in my head. Things escalated fast. Looking back, maybe recklessly fast. A whirlwind of dates, meeting friends, blending lives. We made it official. My crew approved, especially Ryan, my best mate. About time you landed a keeper, he'd grinned, slapping my back. Even my mom, notoriously circumspect about my girlfriends, was charmed. A significant hurdle cleared. Barely 3 months in, cohabitation became the topic. Her lease expiring, my place closer to her downtown marketing gig, shared nights making separate rents seem foolish. The logic felt sound, practical. Ryan threw up a flag. Whoa, man, 3 months? That's hyperspeed. Sure about this? He'd probed over beers. I'd waved it off. It felt like the natural next step in our trajectory. And initially, it was good. Shared dinners, synced Netflix queues, her even roping me into a frankly humiliating yoga session I endured, purely for the sight of her pleased smile. Then, the subtle corrosion began. Late nights at work became her default setting. Once a week stretched to twice, then became an almost nightly occurrence. She'd glide in, wearing a peculiar blend of exhaustion and high-strung energy. Queries about her day yielded vague platitudes, project crunches, team strategy sessions. The name Jake started punctuating these explanations with increasing regularity. Her coworker, key partner on a demanding client account requiring brutal overtime. Jake. I'd met him once, early on, maybe 6 weeks in, at a casual work drinks thing Sarah dragged me to. Tall, confident to the point of smarmy, sculpted gym physique, smile too perfectly calibrated. Even then, a dissonant frequency hummed between them. Inside jokes lobbed like signals I couldn't decode. A conversational shorthand that spoke of deep familiarity. They'd worked together for a year, she'd mentioned. Work husband, she'd laughed it off once. I'd filed it away, consciously tamping down the unease. In hindsight, those moments screamed klaxon warnings. The way her focus intensified when he joined us, the laughter pitched just a half note too high at his unremarkable quips. The proposal shifted the ground beneath us, though I didn't realize it then. It was an elaborate quiet dinner at home, dimmed lights, a classic solitaire I'd agonized over for weeks, tears, an immediate yes, the satisfying slide of the ring onto her finger. Fiancés. Planning discussions started tentatively, venues, guest lists. It felt right, solid. But almost immediately after that commitment, a perceptible chill entered the air. The late nights became later, stretching past midnight. Her phone, previously left casually on the counter, became an extension of her hand, screen always down, clutched tightly, guarded with a sudden fierce privacy. A new password appeared. Work security policy, sensitive client data, she'd explained breezily. An excuse thin as tracing paper. My gut churned. The breaking point arrived disguised as a surprise weekend getaway I'd meticulously planned. A lakeside cabin, 2 hours north. The kind of escape she'd dreamily mentioned wanting. I'd even coordinated with her friend Amy, ensuring Sarah's calendar was clear. Friday morning, bags practically by the door, an urgent text pinged her phone. She showed it to me with theatrical dismay. "Work emergency?" She sighed. "Server crash. Jake needs all hands on deck." Server crash? In marketing? The lie felt clumsy, insulting. My internal alarm wailed, but I masked my disappointment playing the supportive fiancé. "Damn. Okay, babe, we can reschedule," I offered, my voice tighter than intended. She agreed, relief flooding her features a little too quickly. Later, paying our shared phone bill online, the truth slammed into me. A cascade of calls logged that morning, ping-ponging between her number and Jake's. Her return that evening, tired but evasive, mumbling about database contingency plans. Jargon completely alien to her role, cemented the sickening certainty. The foundation wasn't just cracked. P was riddled with fault lines, engaged, building a life, on sand. About a month before the lightning, denial became untenable. New lingerie started appearing. Delicate, expensive lace completely out of sync with her usual style. Perfume, previously reserved for special occasions, became her daily office armor. Small shifts, maybe, but screaming inconsistencies to the man sharing her life, her future, her arrogance. A trait I'd previously excused as confidence started showing sharper edges, a dismissiveness in her tone when I questioned her schedule. The confrontation finally boiled over during a tense dinner of lukewarm takeout. I kept my voice low, determined not to escalate, but the question hung heavy. Sarah, seriously, is something going on? With Jake? The explosion was immediate. Defensiveness flared, turning her eyes hard. Are you kidding me? You're actually accusing me? Because I have a demanding job? Because I have a male colleague? God, Mike, you're suffocating me with this jealousy. You're so damn insecure. She shot back, voice rising, expertly twisting my valid concern into a character flaw. She played the victim, the high-powered woman stifled by a possessive partner. The argument devolved quickly, voices raised, accusations flying, the ugly scrape of a chair pushed back violently. She stormed off to sleep on the couch, the engagement ring glinting accusingly under the hallway light. The apartment felt suffocatingly small, thick with unspoken betrayals. A week before the storm, she announced a girls' weekend camping trip. Amy and some college friends heading north. The details remained frustratingly hazy. Some campsite near a lake, the name escaped her. Patchy cell service anticipated. So don't freak out if you can't reach me constantly, she chirped, a little too forcefully casual. The lie felt greasy, manipulative. Yet a foolish part of me, the part still clutching the engagement fantasy, wanted to believe. Saturday shattered that illusion completely. A text from Amy landed like a grenade in my gut. Hey, Mike, is Sarah around for coffee later? Free afternoon finally, haven't caught up in ages. Amy wasn't camping. Amy hadn't spoken to Sarah in weeks. The cold dread was absolute. Location sharing, still active. A relic of early relationship safety measures, forgotten until now. I opened the app, heart pounding a frantic rhythm against my ribs, half expecting it to be disabled. It wasn't. Her icon pulsed, a small beacon of betrayal, over a remote location deep in the woods. A quick Google Maps cross-reference confirmed it. A private rentable cabin, 2 hours north? Just her and him. The visceral sickness was overwhelming. Drive up? Confront them? The thought was tempting, explosive, but I waited. I needed to absorb the blast radius of this deception. Fiancé. Planning wedding colors while planning illicit weekends. That evening, the sky turned malevolent. Severe thunderstorm warnings flashed urgently across my phone screen, specifically pinpointing the area her icon marked. Not unusual for the region, especially near the northern lakes, storms materialized with shocking speed. I sent a terse text. Nasty storm heading your way. Stay safe. A bizarre, detached reflex of concern warring with simmering fury. No answer. My call went straight to voicemail. Bad service, the logical part of my brain supplied, but the knot in my stomach tightened into a fist. Around 10 p.m., numbly channel surfing through static, my phone chirped. Unknown number. A woman's calm voice on the other end. This is North Regional Hospital. Am I speaking with Michael? My blood turned to slush. There's been an accident involving your fiancée, Sarah Price. She was admitted following a lightning strike and listed you as her emergency contact. Lightning, struck by lightning. The sheer, unadulterated cosmic absurdity of it hit me like physical blow. The nurse continued, confirming Sarah was stable but injured burns, potential trauma from a fall, under observation for cardiac issues common after such strikes. She mentioned another patient admitted from the same incident in worse shape, critical condition in the ICU. She didn't need to say the name. Jake. The bolt had found him more directly. Hearing about Jake left me strangely cold, not with hate, but profound exhaustion. There was no bandwidth left for him. The 2-hour drive north was an out-of-body experience. Autopilot engaged while my mind reeled. Fragments of worry for Sarah's physical well-being colliding violently with betrayal's jagged shards. The ER at midnight felt like a surreal film set. They directed me to her room. She looked small and fragile against the stark white sheets, tethered to reality by IV lines and beeping monitors. Bandages swathed her right arm and shoulder, angry red creeping at the edges. The moment her gaze met mine, shame, fear, and shock warred on her pale features. Then the dam broke. Sobs racked her body as the confession spilled out between gasps. The affair with Jake. Nearly 2 months, ignited in the crucible of late nights and shared deadlines, fueled by after-work drinks that blurred boundaries, secret meetings at his apartment. This cabin weekend, borrowed from a friend, intended as a clandestine anniversary of sorts. It started physically, she swore, but feelings, tangled and confusing, had developed. She was lost, unsure about us, about the engagement, planning to figure things out and talk to me after this weekend. The hike to the scenic lookout, ignoring the darkening sky, the distant rumble of thunder, a hubristic belief they could outpace the storm, the sudden, incandescent flash, then darkness. She kept weeping about karma, about the universe delivering judgment. I stood rooted, hollowed out. The primal urge to scream, to demand, to rage was there, but buried under an avalanche of shock and soul-deep disappointment. An emotional overload switch flipped. Silence descended. "It's over, Sarah," I heard myself say. The words flat, detached. The engagement. Everything. I couldn't look at the ring on her hand. I turned and walked away from the wreckage, her broken sobs echoing behind me. An hour in the hospital cafeteria, nursing burnt coffee, felt like purgatory. I couldn't face her again, couldn't drive home. A grimy motel room nearby became my sanctuary, the thin walls offering no barrier to the replaying reel of disaster in my head. The next afternoon, fortified by caffeine and grim resolve, I returned. Sarah was more alert. Jake remained in ICU, his parents now grim-faced sentinels outside his door. Sarah tried again, weaving a narrative of feeling lost, of things moving too fast, of still caring for me, questioning if it was real love. Excuses, flimsy justifications that disintegrated on impact. My decision, made in the motel's stale air, solidified. "I'm packing your things," I stated, my voice devoid of heat, only grim finality. "You can arrange for someone to collect them from the apartment when you're discharged." No raised voices, no accusations, just the stark, brutal truth of the ending. "I deserve honesty, Sarah. You need something else." Her pleas for more time, more talk, washed over me. "I need a clean break," I repeated, severing the final thread. Back at my apartment, the task of boxing her life, our life, felt like an archaeological dig through ruins. Every shared object, every photo capturing a moment now revealed as a lie, was a fresh wound. I worked methodically, purging her presence, blocked her number, erased her from social media, radio silence, necessary amputation. A few days later, her mother called. A voice I didn't recognize, belonging to a woman I'd never met, despite being engaged to her daughter. Sarah had painted their relationship as distant, strained, another fabricated narrative, apparently. "Michael, please," she'd begun, her voice tight with controlled urgency. "Sarah's been through a trauma. She's fragile. She needs your support." She attempted to minimize the infidelity, framing it as a youthful misstep magnified by the accident. "People make mistakes." Politely, but with unyielding firmness, I explained that while I sincerely hoped for Sarah's physical recovery, the emotional support role was irrevocably closed. The betrayal was a chasm too wide to bridge. "How can you be so cold?" she'd snap before hanging up abruptly. The silence lasted barely a week after Sarah's discharge. She'd apparently landed temporarily with a bewildered coworker. Then my phone rang, a blocked number. Her voice, when I answered hesitantly, wasn't apologetic. It was sharp, demanding, laced with that familiar undercurrent of arrogance. "Mike? It's me." A pause. "Look, these hospital bills are insane, and the physical therapy, it's ongoing. I don't have that kind of money right now." Another pause, heavier this time. "You need to help me pay for this." The audacity stunned me, silent for a beat. "Excuse me?" "You heard me," she retorted, impatience grating in her tone. "This wouldn't have happened if, well, you need to contribute. I was your fiancé. You owe me." "Owe you?" The words exploded out of me, incredulity turning to ice-cold fury. "I owe you nothing, Sarah. You chose to be on that trip with him. You chose to lie, your choices, your consequences. Don't you dare try to put this on me. It was an accident. A freak accident. I got struck by lightning." She shrieked back, the victim card played with predictable desperation. You're abandoning me when I'm injured? No, I'm cutting ties with someone who betrayed me, I stated flatly, the finality echoing in the sudden silence on the line. Do not call me about this again. I ended the call, my hand shaking, not with fear, but with rage at her unmitigated gall. Her campaign then shifted tactics. She found out my office location. One tense afternoon, Janet from reception buzzed my extension, her voice strained. Mike, there's a Sarah Price in the lobby. She's asking for you. She seems quite upset. My stomach plummeted. Steeling myself, I went downstairs. There she stood by the elevator bank, looking thinner, paler, the lightning scar a faint, jagged line against her neck. But her eyes held a frantic, unnerving intensity. Colleagues milled about, pretending not to notice, but very obviously noticing. Mike, finally, we need to talk right now, she declared, her voice several decibels too loud for the professional lobby space. Sarah, this isn't the time or the place, I said, keeping my voice low, trying to guide her towards the revolving doors. You need to leave. Leave? Her voice cracked, rising hysterically. Leave? After you humiliated me? After you threw me out while I was in the hospital? You did this! You pushed me away, always working, never listening, always critical. You made me feel unwanted. It's your fault I needed attention elsewhere. The sheer, unadulterated projection, the blatant rewriting of history, snapped the last thread of my control. My fault? I echoed, my voice rising despite myself turning heads. You lie, you cheat for months, you get caught red-handed, and somehow that's my fault. Her face contorted. Faster than I could react, her hand whipped out, connecting with my cheek in a sharp, stinging slap. Gasps rippled through the lobby. Yes! Your fault! She screamed, tears abruptly streaming down her distorted face. A terrifying mask of fury and self-pity. That was it. The point of no return. Adrenaline surged, hot and clarifying. Security! I shouted, my voice ringing with authority I didn't feel. Call the police, now! My hand went to my pocket, retrieving the velvet box I'd shoved in a drawer, unsure what to do with its poisoned symbolism. I flipped it open. The diamond glittered mockingly. With a flick of my wrist, I threw the engagement ring. It skittered across the polished marble floor, coming to rest near her feet like a discarded piece of trash. We are done, Sarah. Forever? She stared at the ring, then at me, her expression crumbling, shifting rapidly between incoherent rage and desolate weeping. Security guards closed in cautiously as I calmly explained the situation, the uninvited presence, the assault, the evident instability. The police arrived with practiced efficiency. They took statements from me, from security, observed Sarah's volatile state. It was clear she wasn't rational. We'll need to take her for evaluation, one officer informed me quietly, his gaze sympathetic but firm. Mandatory hold, given the assault and circumstances. I nodded numbly, watching them lead her away, her cries fading down the street, replaced by the receding wail of sirens. The slap still burned. My workplace buzzed. My boss, after a brief, excruciatingly awkward explanation, urged me to go home. Weeks bled into a month. I threw myself into work, doubled down on therapy, leaned on Ryan and my sister. Word trickled back. Sarah had been admitted to a psychiatric clinic. Her parents were involved, managing her care. A strange, conflicted mix of relief and pity washed over me, quickly submerged by the lingering trauma. Then came the night terror turned real. Driving home late from Ryan's, taking a deserted back road to avoid traffic, harsh headlights suddenly filled my rear view, tailgating aggressively close. My pulse quickened. Before I could react, a heavy-duty pickup truck swerved violently, blocking the narrow road completely. My breath hitched. A figure jumped out, large, silhouetted against his own high beams. As he stomped towards my car, rage radiating off him like heat shimmer, recognition hit me with icy dread. Sarah's father, the man I'd glimpsed only briefly in the hospital waiting room. He pounded on my window, his face a mask of fury. Get the hell out! He roared, his voice thick, muffled by the glass. Trembling, I cracked the window an inch. What do you want? My voice was thin, reedy. What do I want? He spat, leaning down, his face inches away, the stale reek of whiskey hitting me. I want you to fix my daughter. You hear me? She's wrecked 'cause of you, almost married. Now she's in and out of places, losing her mind every damn day. This is on you, asshole. My fault? Disbelief tangled with rising fear. She cheated on me. She assaulted me. Bullcrap, he bellowed, spittle flying. You drove her to it, neglected her. Now you're gonna man up, take her back, marry her like you promised. That's completely insane, I said, my hand instinctively moving to raise the window. Get away from my car. His eyes narrowed. His hand vanished inside his plaid jacket. It reappeared holding something heavy, metallic, glinting dully in the ambient light. A magnum, unmistakable. My world tilted. You think I'm playing? He snarled, the muzzle of the gun pressing hard against the glass right by my head. You ruined her. You fix it or I fix you? Just put the gun down, I pleaded, voice barely audible. Hands clamped on the steering wheel, mind racing, searching for an escape that didn't exist. This isn't helping anything. It'll help me, he screamed, his face contorted, finger tightening on the trigger. Whether it was pure rage, drunken clumsiness, or malice, the result was the same. A deafening concussion rocked the small car. A searing, white-hot agony exploded in my left thigh. He'd shot me. The shock on his own face mirrored mine. He stumbled back, eyes wide with sudden panic, darting looks down the empty road. The reality of his action seemed to hit him. He scrambled back into his truck, throwing it into reverse with a screech of abused tires, and fishtailed away into the darkness. Pain, adrenaline, sheer, unadulterated terror. My fingers, clumsy and slick with sweat, fumbled for my phone. Emergency. Gasping out my location, the description, the gunshot wound. The wait for the distant sirens felt like years slumped against the door. The metallic tang of blood filling the air. The throbbing fire in my leg eclipsing everything else. The hospital became a fractured montage. Flashing lights, urgent voices, police questions. The sterile cold of the OR. The dull ache morphing into grinding pain. The grim prognosis of nerve damage and lengthy rehabilitation. I filed the report, detailed the encounter, described the truck, the father. A neighbor woken by the shot had glimpsed the truck fleeing, catching a partial plate. It was enough. Within days, Sarah's father was apprehended. Aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, illegal firearm discharge, reckless endangerment, the charges piled up. The judge denied bail, citing flight risk and the crime's violent nature. The wheels of justice began their slow, grinding turn. Sarah's family wasn't just troubled. They were lethally dysfunctional. Months crawled by. Physical therapy became my new religion, painful, frustrating, but necessary. The physical wounds slowly mended. The psychological ones remained raw. Cautiously, hesitantly, I started seeing Allison, the woman Ryan's cousin had set me up with weeks before the shooting. Patient, kind, refreshingly normal. I offered her a heavily redacted version of my recent history, the full horror too much to unload prematurely. We took it slow. Life began to feel less like a minefield, until last Sunday afternoon. Normalcy proved fragile. Allison and I were sprawled on my couch halfway through a movie when violent pounding erupted at the front door. Not knocking, furious, rhythmic hammering. We exchanged uneasy glances. My stomach clenched. Through the peephole, Sarah, haggard, eyes wild, hair a tangled mess. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. "Mike, open this damn door! I know you're in there!" she screamed, rattling the knob with frantic energy. "We need to talk! You can't ignore destiny! The universe wants us together! Sarah, go away!" I yelled through the solid wood, my voice tight with rising dread. "I'm calling the police again!" "No, don't you dare hang up on me again!" she shrieked. Allison had moved quietly behind me, her fear palpable. Sarah must have sensed her because her tone shifted, curdling with venom. "Who is that? Is she in there? That cheap replacement, that bitch!" Before I could respond, she started kicking the door near the lock. Heavy, desperate blows. Then abruptly, silence. A beat passed. Then the distinct sound of shattering glass from the side yard. My blood ran cold. "Allison, get back!" I whispered, phone already in hand, dialing emergency again. The back door, leading from the small patio, burst inward. Sarah stood framed in the doorway, chest heaving, eyes locking onto Allison with terrifying, laser-focused hatred. "You!" she screamed, lunging past me like I wasn't even there. She grabbed Allison, who cried out in shock and pain by her long blonde hair, yanking her with brutal force. Allison stumbled, trying to keep her footing as Sarah dragged her bodily out the back door and around onto the front lawn. "He belongs to me. Do you understand? He's mine!" Sarah raged, pulling Allison's hair viciously, trying to force her down onto the grass. "The lightning! It chose us! It bonded us! You can't steal him!" Horror momentarily paralyzed me before adrenaline surged. I launched myself outside, grabbing Sarah's arms, trying to break her frenzied grip. "Sarah, stop! Let her go!" I yelled, grappling with her surprising strength. She fought back like a trapped animal, snarling, spitting, clawing. Neighbors emerged onto their porches, faces etched with alarm and morbid curiosity. It took every ounce of my strength, leveraging my recovering leg awkwardly, to finally pry her fingers loose from Allison's hair. I shoved Sarah back, positioning myself between her and a crying, terrified Allison. Sarah stood there, swaying slightly, chest heaving, eyes darting manically, spewing a torrent of disconnected phrases about cosmic injustice, soulmates, and betrayal. The familiar wail of sirens sliced through the suburban afternoon, rapidly growing louder. The police arrived to find tableau of chaos. Allison sobbing, clutching clumps of her own hair, me drained and shaking. Sarah still ranting, pacing my lawn like a caged predator. This time, there were no ambiguities. Restrained, charged with assault, breaking and entering, trespassing, violation of likely, a pending restraining order. She was taken away again, her destination undoubtedly a secure facility this time, the legal system now facing a far more complex and dangerous case. Standing on the desecrated lawn, my arm around Allison's trembling shoulders, the sheer, crushing weight of the past year settled upon me. The lies, the lightning, the demands, the violence, the gunshot, this final, terrifying assault. This wasn't just a relationship implosion. It was a terrifying plunge into the abyss of someone's unraveling sanity, a vortex that had violently pulled me, and now Allison, into its destructive spin. The road ahead stretched long and shadowed, paved with court dates, therapy sessions, and the constant low-level hum of anxiety. But looking at Allison, her face pale but her eyes meeting mine with shared trauma, I knew one thing with absolute certainty. I would build fortifications around this fragile piece, whatever it took. The storm Sarah unleashed might be contained for now, institutionally and legally, but the debris field, littered with scars both seen and unseen, would take a lifetime to clear.